Let's check out some of the newspaper headlines from Spain after PSG's 4-0 demolition of Atletico Madrid. A global stumble, says AS. Marca a lot of PSG. That's indeed the case as they won 4-0 over Atleti. Mario is still with us. Joining us, Alex Kirkland. He was actually at the game. Alex, we love our La Liga here at ESPN, but what happened to Atleti in this one?
Yeah, I think the extent of the gulf between these two teams was surprising, Seb. We know that PSG are the best team in Europe, maybe the best club team in the world. We saw that in the Champions League, the way they dismantled Inter in the Champions League final. So that's no surprise. But I was surprised and disappointed by Atletico Madrid. I thought they were really poor. I think they just were really kind of sluggish. And there were a lot of talk after the game about the midday heat at the Rose Bowl and how that might have affected them. But it didn't affect PSG, that's for sure. I think the most impressive thing about PSG was the way that they maintained the kind of intensity we've seen from them earlier in the season, even at this stage. The season's effectively over. Here we are at the Club World Cup. They're playing in Pasadena at midday. And yet right the way through this game, they maintained that intensity, both kind of on and off the ball, all the way through, and Atletico just couldn't match that, and that's a surprise, I think, and a real concern for a Diego Simeone team.
PSG, your favourites to win this whole tournament?
Yeah, I mean, what we saw, you understand the way they play. I think the two guys already highlighted, but the key thing is when you're that young and that gelled, like they look like a team that really gelled. They all know what to do. And I think that is one of the key things for them. You understand, when I saw the goal, for example, what Vitinha scored, right to the middle, everything just, it's not, they don't make it look easy, but it looks really fluently. The way they move, the way they have to be, the way they stand, the way they control, and then every individual in that team has a part of a skill level that is so comfortable. And I also have to say, when I watch the Spanish teams in the pre-seasons, and I've seen Barcelona in America, for example, it always takes a little bit of time for them to get going, and especially when it's in the beginning. So I don't want to bash Atletico too much, but I feel like, okay, the mid of August have to be ready because then they kick off. But I feel that those are moments always in Spain. It takes a little bit longer for them they want to be ready right before they have to start and not too early. So that sometimes it also affects them.
Mario, well, one of the factors that might be bugging Spanish teams this summer here in the United States, of course, is the heat. Alex mentioned it, so did Marcos Llorente of Atleti after the game. Quote, "It's impossible. It's terribly hot. My toes were sore. My nails were hurting. I couldn't stop or start. In the end, it's incredible." Alex, you were there, so how bad was it, really?
I mean, my toenails were fine, Seth. My toenails were not hurting anybody. But of course, I was sat in the press box in the air conditioning. I wasn't out there on the field playing against the best team in the world. I don't think I've ever been that hot that my toenails hurt. But I understand what Llorente is saying in the sense that they were just exhausted, didn't have anything to give. And he was talking about how difficult it was, just things like, short intensity distance sprints, starting and stopping and changing directions. I think that's what he's sort of getting at. That was what was so difficult, and especially against a team like PSG, with the kind of movement and fluidity that they have. Simeone was talking afterwards about how, you mentioned the youth of PSG. These players have just got so much hunger, was the word that Luis Enrique used. He said, "We are hungry. We're still hungry as a club, as a team, as a coaching staff, as the players." The heat is a factor. Of course, people will say, well, it gets hot in Madrid, doesn't it? Yes, it does. But of course, when it's hottest in Madrid, in June and July, there's no La Liga. In August, kickoff times are built around the temperature, so you don't get kind of midday kickoff times in Madrid in August, for example. And so this game kicking off at midday at the Rose Bowl, I think temperatures got up to around 32 degrees Celsius. Of course, I'm a Celsius, not a Fahrenheit guy, forgive me. But it was hot. There's no question about that, and especially when you're going up against a team, like I said, with the kind of ferocious intensity that you see from PSG.
That's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you following along in Fahrenheit. Alex, where are you now? Because people are complaining about these temperatures. They're certainly going to be complaining next summer when the World Cup rolls around. Is it hotter than Los Angeles was a few days ago?
You joined me here in my hotel room in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Seb. I flew overnight from LA across to the East Coast. I'm here now following Real Madrid. I'm going to be with them for the next 10 days or so. As you guys know, it's humid here in Florida. It's the humidity that really gets you here. And some of the Real Madrid players who've been training the last few days up in Palm Beach Gardens, they've been talking about the humidity. Real Madrid are going to be playing, of course, on Wednesday against Al Hilal at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. That game kicking off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we heard Vinicius Junior, for example, yesterday saying, look, we're aware of this. It's hot. It's a 3:00 kickoff. It's going to be tough, but we've got to be ready.
Like I mentioned, Stevie, we got some big tournaments coming to this part of the world over the next couple of years. We're going to be playing in the summer. The heat is a big issue. How big of an impact is it really? You've coached through like an MLS summer. You know it.
No, it's tough. It's really tough. But then you have to use your brains. The old classic saying of, you know what? Let the ball do the work. That's what you have to do.
You're talking about the players here. What about the managers? Does it change?
So what you do is you don't run around at 1,000 miles an hour chasing the ball and.
Well, I think that's obvious, right? In the heat, most players.
You let the ball do the work. You take care of the ball. Let the opposition do the running, and then when they start flagging, bang, you hit them.
What about from a coaching perspective? Does the heat kind of maybe change how you approach a game?
Absolutely, 100%. A lot of it goes on. This is when the real teams that have 3 or 4 individuals that we would call the leaders come into play, because when it's so hot, so humid, you can't keep running for 90 minutes. You can't. You have to have periods where you have to get your breath back, get the lungs back to normal, and calm things down. And so you need those guys on the field to be able to talk to everybody and do it at the right time. Get into a good shape, get tight, and make the opposition generally go on the outside and try and. The only way to get through you is by them running at you. Because you always got to remember again, as tired as you feel and as hard as it is for you, it's the same for them.
Right.
And it's how you compete at the right time in the right manner by changing the pace of the game and then get back and slowing it down to recover.
You know who's got a place in LA among his many homes? Mario. Mario, you got a place in LA. Is it really that bad? Is it that bad in the summers? These guys complaining, making excuses.
We have a month, you understand. They call it the indie weather, and it's a little bit later. It can be really hot because we get the breeze from Vegas coming over, so that's why it gets a little choppy. But at this time, yeah, I totally understand it. It's hot. I never played football in this kind of weather because I was always in England for a long period of my career and Holland, so we don't have that kind of. And in the summer, normally we have a break. But when it comes to that, what Stevie said, I'm used to playing against teams that were older than me, bigger and physically 10 steps further than me. So the only thing I could do, especially when you play for a team like, let's say, when I was at Ajax, you couldn't battle with them physically. So you have to do, the ball has to do the talking for you. So what he explained was clearly exactly what was happening. We were learning that when you were a younger kid. So when it comes to this moment, the only downside is we all know Atletico's game. That's not their game. Their game is sometimes they like to rough you up. And if they want to rough a team up that only wants to play football and move the ball really quickly and has those, when you're shorter, you have a better movement. The way you move on top of that field is faster and quicker. So those kind of players have all those possibilities. And they want to go physically with you, it's going to burn out because you cannot sustain it for a long period of time, especially if you're not up to pace that you want to be. So I think when it comes to the weather, LA is great, but Florida, for me, no, I've been there, and that is really killing because it gets sweaty there.
All right, speaking of Florida, Alex, we got to let you go. Enjoy the AC, and one tip, shorts, man. Use shorts.